So someone left a comment on one of my recent videos that got over 400, 500 likes. It said, and I'm quoting directly, "I find that most people who call the US the greatest country in the world haven't been anywhere else." End quote. They're right. And they also completely missed what I was saying. Honestly, many people did, if you read through the comments. That misread, to me, though, is much more interesting than anything I said in the original video. So at the end of that video, I said, it's a shame that we had to leave the greatest country in the world to find out that the American dream was dead. It's basically what I was talking about. And a number of you heard that and thought, wait, she just spent 15 plus minutes explaining why life in Britain is objectively better on almost every measurable quality of life metric. And then she called America the greatest country in the world. So which one is it? Fair question. Here's the answer. I wasn't calling America the greatest country in the world. I was quoting the belief system that I was raised inside of. They're not the same thing. And the fact that they're too easy to confuse is kind of the point. See, in America, the greatest country in the world representation is not a claim that you prove. It's not an argument. It's not even really a statement. It's a liturgy. It's something that you say when you say, God bless you, when someone sees us. It's a reflex. It's something that we are taught from birth, basically. It's ambient. It's in the Pledge of Allegiance that you recite every day at school when you're old enough. It's in the Pledge of Allegiance that you recite every single morning in grade school before you're even old enough to understand exactly what you're pledging allegiance to. And when you grow up inside of that environment, you don't question it because you don't know anything else. And because questioning it also sort of feels like a betrayal of something sacred. Not political, but sacred. There's a term for this, American Exceptionalism. And I want to be careful here because it gets used as a political football, and that's not what I'm interested in today. American exceptionalism at its core is the sincere, deeply held belief that America isn't just a country. It's an idea. It's this divinely or historically ordained experiment in human freedom that is categorically different from every other nation that has ever existed in the history of the world. Not just better, different in kind, completely set apart. Now, you can agree or disagree with that theologically or historically. That's your prerogative, and that's not my point today at all. My point is, when that's the water that you're swimming in from birth, you don't know it's water. You just know how to swim. The comment that got 417 likes said, most people who call the US the greatest country in the world haven't been anywhere else. Well, that's exactly right. And it's also exactly what I was gesturing at with all the final line, because I believed it for a very long time. I believed it not because I was naive or uninformed or unintelligent or uneducated. I believed it because it was the foundational assumption underneath every other assumption I had about the world. And then I met my partner, who is from the UK, and then I moved. And that belief didn't survive the contact with reality. Not because Britain is perfect by any means. It's absolutely not. Every country has its flaws. There's no place that will be perfect. But because of the specific things America told me it was uniquely great at. Freedom, opportunity, safety, dignity. I found those things more reliably here in the UK. In a country that doesn't even particularly brag about having them, or much else. So why did I say it's a shame? Because it is a shame, a genuine one. Think about what it costs on an emotional scale, on a relational scale, practically, to leave your country. I left in the middle of my life, in my 40s, with a child, with no safety net on the other side. With relationships that didn't survive the decision. with the full weight of that choice on my shoulders every single day for the first year, and still a little bit even now, 3 years in. That's not a small thing. That is not something that you do lightly. It's not something that you can be flippant about either. It is an enormous, costly, irreversible act. And in the grief of that final line from that video, that grief that I was trying to name and identify, really it's this. Why did it have to cost me that much to find out that that statement wasn't true? Why did I have to leave the country I had known, that I was born in, that I met my partner in, that I built a life in, that I had my child in order to discover that the story I was told about my own country didn't match the life that I was actually living inside of it? Why couldn't I have known the cost before all the loss, before all the estrangement? That's the shame. Not shame about America as a place, not shame about being an American, just shame about a belief system so total, so sealed, so absolute, so self-confirming that the only way out of it was to physically leave. And the comment that pushed back on that, I wouldn't call it the greatest if you lived in fear. That person's right too. And I fully acknowledge that. But they're answering a different question than the one I was actually asking. I wasn't defending the belief by any means. I was mourning the cost of escaping it. I want to speak directly to Americans right now that might be watching this. And I know there's some of you here because you always are. And I'm glad you are. I'm not asking you to stop loving your country. I am an American. I will always be an American. And I will always be proud to be an American. I love my country. And I always will, no matter where I live and no matter what I have to say about it. Love of a place that is real and it matters. And it doesn't require the place to be perfect. I still love things about America. I still think the American people are amazing. And I still think it is a great country to live in. I like specific things, real things, honest things. But I want to offer you something that took me leaving to completely understand. Loving your country and evaluating your country are not the same act. And a belief system that treats evaluation or honesty about its history is betrayal. And a belief system that treats evaluation or honesty about a country's history as betrayal, that treats the question, could this be better, as an attack? And that belief system isn't protecting the country at all. It's protecting itself. It's protecting the myth. The greatest countries in the world, by most measurable standards, are not the loudest about being great. And to be honest, for my 4+ decades on this earth, those who have to shout it the loudest usually don't have much substance behind it. Because the people that are truly great are building things that are making life livable, not looking for the praise, not looking for the recognition. They're building safety nets. They're building community infrastructure. They're building healthcare systems that treat patients instead of worrying about how they're going to get billed. They're building schools where kids are safe and don't have to worry about an armed policeman walking around their halls, let alone something more horrific or catastrophic. Greatness is quieter than mythology. And so to everyone that left a comment questioning that final line, thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your candor. I'm being genuine on this. You did exactly what I want this community to do. You pushed back. You questioned me. You engaged. You didn't just nod along. You didn't just blow smoke up my ass. You were honest. And I'm going to be honest from my point of view, always. The answer to all of those comments is you're not wrong to question it. Questioning it was the whole point. The line was doing something really complicated in a small space. And today was me just unpacking it properly for you. If this is your first video with the Hickson Diaries, I implore you to please check out this video that's popping up here so you can get a little bit of background on what I'm talking about today. But just to let you know, this is what we do here. We take the thing that sounds simple on the surface and follow it down until we find out what it's actually about. Or at least what my layman point of view thinks it's about anyway. Whether you're a newbie or you've been here with me from the beginning, thank you so much for your support in any way that you can. And I hope I get to speak to you again in the future, because life is always better when you're there.